चलो फटाफट से स्पोर्ट्स तक को सब्सक्राइब करो और हाँ जो घंटी नजर आ रही है बिना देरी किए इस पर क्लिक करो.
Simon, first, again, lovely to have you once again back at the TP World IT20, your third season at the tournament. Of course, you have seen it very much from the onset. Now we're in the third season. And of course, the tournament is majorly about developing talent here, giving them exposure. And we've seen some phenomenal performances from the local players as well. Your take from season 1 to season 3, and in terms of, like, again, what's that, say, Simon Doull would want to see in the tournament as such this year?
Look, I think from season 1, you're not sure what you're going to get. I think all the teams have improved season on season. I thought last year was very, very good from an international and a local point of view. And every season that the locals get to spend another 4 or 5 weeks in the dressing room or in the changing room with senior players from around the world, highly experienced players, top quality coaches, I think that's always going to improve cricket in the area. And I like the fact there has to be 2. I'd like in the future for there to be 3 local players, but the talent needs to develop, and to develop that talent you need to have international talent alongside them, time and time again. So they're getting better. There's some high quality players in and around the area. I think the development of kids cricket, I think, is a big thing for me in the area. The money that's going back into boys and girls and schools cricket as well, that goes back in from this tournament, I think is crucial. And we might not see results tomorrow or next year, but in 3, 4, 5 years' time, I think we all know the demographic of Dubai, of the UAE. We know that there is a lot of talent here in the boys and girls, and a lot of people want to play cricket. So I think we will see it in time, but just don't expect overnight results. When you colour your hair, it doesn't turn black straight away. I'm known about that now. So.
Season 3, again, in terms of expectations, you've already laid out as to what the tournament means, as to what the objectives are. Anything in particular that you would probably want to see or are excited about in terms of, say, the local talent, international talent, and all the 6 franchises?
I just look forward to good games. I think, sometimes a low-scoring thriller can be better than 220 plays 210. And with the quality across the board and the even nature of most of the teams, we'll see teams change. I think throughout the tournament there'll be injuries, there'll be players coming in, players finishing other tournaments that will probably come in at some stage who aren't available at the moment. So I'm just looking forward to some good contests. And what I love about it also is, although we're only an hour and a half away from each different venue, they all play slightly differently, and the surfaces play slightly different. So you have to have a mix of high quality seam, perhaps for here, a bit for Abu Dhabi, high quality spinners maybe when you go to Sharjah. So the development around the teams, the strategy around who you use as impact players, those things are going to be crucial once again.
Simon, you must have seen BGT and India and Australia, they were there. What do you think lagged in Indian team, and why they were not up to the mark?
Runs. Look, it's tough. Australia is such a tough tour. It's a hard place to go. When your senior players aren't scoring runs, you're relying on some of the young talent. Okay, they're not inexperienced, but they're still young. And it's a tough place to go, whether you're experienced or inexperienced. And I think, there was high hopes after the first test, and they just fell away, courtesy of some high-quality Australian bowling and I think a lack of runs. And, when you've got the world-class performer like Jasprit Bumrah, who did what he did time and time again, he gave India every chance, but they just couldn't get the runs.
You think he was overused?
Pardon?
Bumrah was overused?
I think it was very clever from Australia. The strategy of where they played the test matches meant that the fast bowlers had to do a bulk of the work in the first 3 tests. And I'm not saying they tried to injure Bumrah, but what they did in the strategy of playing those first 3 tests at the 3 fastest surfaces meant the fast bowlers were going to have to do a lot of work. So I think it was brilliant strategy from Australia, because they very rarely start in Perth. They always start in Brisbane. And so the strategy around the scheduling, very, very clever.
Simon, was it very difficult to call Virat Kohli's repeated decimals outside off stump, the same pattern? Was it very difficult to see someone so great being struggling out there in the middle?
I think it's always difficult to watch, great players, and he was an absolute great player. It's always difficult to watch them struggle, and how do they come out of it? What do they do post that? How do they find something again? And when you've been at such a high level, you have such high demands on yourself. And it's always hard to watch players when they're coming towards the end of their career. And he's not the first, and he won't be the last. When you get to that 35, 36, 37, you talk to Ponting, talk to Gilchrist, talk to Hayden, talk to anyone who's been in that situation, the eyes and the brain, they work, but they don't quite work as well, and they don't match up to the feet as fast as they did when you were 25, and things just become a little bit more difficult. And it is hard to watch, but it doesn't take away from his greatness. I still think he's one of the greatest players of a generation and one of the greatest we've seen in a long, long time.
Simon, as you said about the lack of runs, so Virat and Rohit were not among the runs in BGT, but will that add extra pressure on the both star batters in the coming Champions Trophy?
Different formats. I think when you look at white ball cricket, I think India are very, very well served. There are probably 8 or 10 batters that could bat from 1 to 6 in that white ball game, and could give any one of them an opportunity, and they will probably succeed. I think the way that India play their white ball cricket is exceptional, and you look at that. It's a completely different ball game from playing Test match cricket in Australia, going to these types of conditions and playing 50 over cricket where they feel very comfortable.
And
Simon, two last questions. One, have you seen the last of Rohit Sharma in red ball cricket, according to you? And the other one, Mohammad Shami, he's trying to make a comeback. Do you think he'll have any sort of impact? How do you see his comeback in white ball cricket?
And last, India New Zealand also.
Rohit Sharma is too great a player for me to call time in his retirement. He deserves to do that himself. So I can't. Look, I'm a huge admirer of Rohit Sharma. I think he has been one of the most selfless cricketers in the world in the last 3 or 4 years, particularly the way he's taken his white ball team forward and the way he's played and said, we're going to play it this way, and I'm going to show you how we want to play it. And I think that, from a captaincy point of view, that makes players want to follow him. And that, to me, is one of the most selfless things you can do. So I love that.
स्पोर्ट्स की खबरें ढूंढ रहे हो तो इधर उधर क्या देख रहे हो? चलो फटाफट से स्पोर्ट्स तक को सब्सक्राइब करो, और हाँ, जो घंटी नजर आ रही है, फटाफट से बिना देरी किए इस पर क्लिक करो.